quite simple. My film potters, my AKA potters, my film buffers. It's the weekend. We're talking animation. We have a big idea today. A little bit of a revelation. Pre-recording, going through some of my notes for this episode. But my pre-recordings, by the way, are just a part of the process where I can give you guys one take of one idea and not do a lot of editing. I feel overly edited episodes or YouTube content or podcast content, when we fall into the hole, and it really is a black hole of editing, it takes away some of the true insight and I think the trust between me and you, the audience member. Animation, it's odd to me that the world of animation doesn't have inside baseball discussions and talk. We have a lot of journalists and commentators out there, mostly blogs, by the way, that gather the information and they give it to you. But we don't have a lot of hypothesizing. We don't get a lot of thesis just when it comes to the milestones of the American animation industry. And today we're discussing 1 year that gave us 3 syndicated masterpieces. Visually stunning, great storytelling, fantastic characters, and each one connected to a huge toy line. Now, toy collectors found Mighty Max, SWAT Kats, Exo-Squad. Look at the eBay pricing throughout the years. Those toys go up and up and up and up. But the appreciation of the source material has dwindled, faded away. Most animation fans have never made the connection that these 3 immensely impactful series all dropped in 1993. That's extraordinary to me. And these are also, for your host, that's me, 3 of the most influential series I've seen on a regular basis. These are all shows I would have a drawing pad to. I would try and memorize the line weights, memorize the coloring, memorize the character design. I each separately but all equal, I viewed each show as perfect. And I'm going to do my best to tell you more about it. So guys, I know, extended intro today, but this is what we do sometimes on this podcast. I just want to brain dump to you how great these 3 shows are and where you can watch them. Let's go.
Camera speed, sound production, take 1.
Action!
Alright, so let's get this out of here. Where can we watch these amazing, magnificent animation shows? SWAT Kats, you will have to pay for SWAT Kats. It's available through digital release or Amazon Prime, through YouTube, through Apple TV. That initial season will cost you about $23. Now, SWAT Kats has 2 seasons and 1 special. I went through what's available for the season 2 episodes, and I don't see the follow-up special. But so I'm not sure at this point if the follow-up special was just collected episodes that became a movie, which is common in American syndication. So with that, moving on, let's get to the freebie. Mighty Max. Mighty Max is available. You can watch them all. They're on YouTube. Just search Mighty Max cartoon. It comes right up. Exo-Squad. This is the crown jewel of everything 90s animation. Exo-Squad, just via body of the story, the guts of the story, what happens with the characters, what happens with the plot. Exo-Squad is available on Peacock. Now, can we watch both seasons on Peacock? Last time I checked, you could. Exo-Squad has a wrap-up. They actually have a final episode. I compared the final episode of Exo-Squad very much to the final episode of Babylon 5. With all that, what are these shows? Well, Mighty Max is a kid that has an owl friend. He has a giant barbarian protector, and they go on adventures in wild environments. This complements the toy line. The Mighty Max toy line was, they're almost like clam-like or chest-like toys. They would open up, and on the outside it might be a skull, and then the skull would open up and it might be like Skull Island on the inside, and you got these little tiny miniature figures. The artwork for all the packaging is the best of anything from SWAT Kats and Exo-Squad. There's like a castle, a fully illustrated type of artwork that stems from the 80s. Like, so everything people love about the Masters of the Universe packaging artwork, or the Transformers or G.I. Joe, is clearly echoed in the Mighty Max toy line. The toy line has grown in popularity throughout the years, but the show hasn't. This show has so around this time there was a Tales from the Crypt Keeper. I believe it was on ABC Saturday morning. The Crypt Keeper show cartoon somewhat came back. The DVD was successful, much anticipated, all that stuff. But when we want to compare tone and creepiness, the Mighty Max series trumps everything that they tried to do with the Tales from the Crypt animated. These are some of the things we pay attention to along the way of having characters that we can follow week to week. Of all of these shows, the Mighty Max character design is potentially the best of the era. I would say outside of Spider-Man the Animated Series, but Spider-Man the Animated Series had the Marvel Comics. Now, they were going through like the 90s revolution, so we had like a lot of thin line and cross hatching, but there was still a baseline to how overall, like what the house style was for Marvel comic books at the time. And the Spider-Man animated series had, it had to echo that, so it was a obtainable goal because we already had seen it achieved. Mighty Max coming out of the blue, not having anything else to measure their character designs against, I think the proportions for the characters are absolute perfection, and I will be saying perfection a lot on this episode. Getting into the one that's getting the most attention now, SWAT Kats, I believe, is coming back as an anime series. I believe Ryan Reynolds' production company, Maximum Entertainment or Maximum Effort Entertainment, they obtained the rights for Alf and SWAT Kats about 2 years ago. Everyone's anticipating a SWAT Kats return. I'm not 100%. I also believe SWAT Kats had 2 successful rounds of action figure design or action figure production. I'm not sure where that is. The SWAT Kat action figures, not so much of a thing compared to Exo-Squad and Mighty Max, but SWAT Kats is personified 90s action and attitude. All the villains are cats, and there's some insane designs for SWAT Kats, but it's all clear within the universe. They're echoing the cat structure, so even when it comes to character design, it's like one step lower than Mighty Max, but it is some cool wild stuff. All 3 of these series deal with dark shadows, big bold lines, and bright colors. The juxtaposition of all 3 of those, it just makes it's hard to take your eyeballs away from it. And the whole idea for SWAT Kats is they're almost like these industrialized, they're somewhat poor, they're mechanics, they can create amazing tech, they don't have amazing funding, but they have basically like a F-15 Tomcat, pun intended there, jet that transforms, and they're just these cool, wild looking cat soldiers that fight against everything technology. They have technological villains, meaning guys that are like cyborgs and robots, but they also have the mystic. They fight the mystic and they fight the tech. It's really cool. Usually my brain shuts off when it's not military versus military when it comes to protagonists and antagonists. A little bit of my problem I have with Wildstorm Wednesdays. If you guys watch that on YouTube, hey, subscribe, support, find me on YouTube at AKAPAD. But it does work. Their initial adventure is a mystical villain, and from there, it's all systems are go. To compare where some of that comes from, it's very similar to Thundercats, where Thundercats is mystical, G.I. Joe is military. Sure, they get a little flighty towards the end of G.I. Joe, but Transformers, right? It's military. I just believe when you measure your villains up against the capabilities of the heroes, it keeps things a little bit more engaging. And number 3 is Exo-Squad. Exo-Squad is the absolute opus. Character design wise, it's number 3. Character design wise, it looks very similar. I believe it was the same production studio, Nevada. Very similar to X-Men the Anime Series and Spider-Man the Animated Series of the time. It's a larger, broader idea. We're dealing with, it's almost a little bit like Blade Runner. If we envision the Blade Runner universe as becoming this intergalactic war with the slaves essentially having the upper hand, growing in power, growing in influence, and raging war at the same time, the Exo-Squad are the soldiers against this slave power, this slave movement. It's very Spartacus. And we get a resolution at the end. We get a villain that is diabolical but also sympathetic. He's a great Phaeton, I believe, is, if I remember his name. Phaeton is more of a memorable, sympathetic villain than even Magneto ever was. And we see his life cycle throughout the 2 seasons. The emotional impact of Exo-Squad is 100% there. And where so much of this is influential for me is their availability was through the roof at one time, because they were syndicated on USA and outside of the ABC, NBC, the Prime networks. Their syndication, you got a little bit more of it. They would repeat a couple times during the week. They would repeat early. They would repeat late. They had their primetime premieres or like whatever. And by prime time, I mean the animation prime time, which I believe was 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. But you would get the new episodes, the new episode pops, all of these other things. And I would try and be there with my drawing pad, drawing paper, echoing some of this energy that I would love to see. And at the time, like looking back, I just wish I spent more time with those properties, and with, even though Mighty Max truly was moving for me, and so was SWAT Kats, Exo-Squad. I just remember, like again, like we didn't get word of series ending and things like that. I never got word that there was no final for Exo-Squad, and these are things I discovered and found later. But along the way, I followed as much of the story as possible. Mighty Max, I just wanted more and more episodes, more and more character design, more of these environments, and memorize as much as I can along the way. 1993, that these 3 shows premiered in the same year is beyond. It just blows my mind when I look back, and I just wish there was a little bit more of this type of conversation within the realm of animation. Like, can we say, is 1993 the greatest year of American syndicated animation? I'm willing to say that. The artistry of these 3 shows, each lasting roughly 2 seasons, 25 episodes apiece, nothing compared to their predecessors, nothing compared to X-Men the Animated Series or the Spider-Man Animated Series, which were 2 of the juggernauts at the time. Nothing compared to what Disney was doing with the Mighty Ducks or DuckTales, and the list goes on. Tailspin, all of those, at least 5 seasons each. And here's the great, if you really want to see it, one contrast. SWAT Kats is essentially Hanna-Barbera's swan song before they get completely absorbed and crushed by Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers Entertainment. SWAT Kats is a perfect measure against what Disney was doing with the Mighty Ducks animated series, where the ducks essentially were superheroes. They were superhero ducks. They were also of tech. They were technology superhero ducks, very similar to SWAT Kats. And you compare the characters and the attitudes of the 2, and you let me know which one you think deserves to live on. Now, Disney gets to have their Mighty Ducks live on forever, because it's Disney. And Warner Brothers had, I think they were called Land Rovers, which were a dog technology superhero team. So you had something from Warner Brothers, something from Disney, and the last hurrah from Hanna-Barbera. And the Hanna-Barbera one has so much fever, fury, veins, blood, guts. It just seemed gritty and real, darker tone, very much of the day, very much of the time, and dare I say, very grunge. SWAT Kats, in my view, has resonated for a very clear particular reason, and that's because what you can measure it against during that time, it crushes it. Mighty Max has resonated because people see true adventure in that series, but more or less through the toy line. And when they reverse engineer and they go to the animated series, they're impressed. That's why that has survived. And Exo-Squad, I hate to say it, kind of faded into darkness. The action figure line, the action figure popularity line, as of right now, isn't helping any of the appreciation of this series. So maybe if we do have a reach and I can influence you, you have to check out Exo-Squad. Alright, AKAPADers, long one today. Happy animation. My website's down and I'm still working on it. SSL certificate, domain problems. Bear with me. I love you guys. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.